Gideon never saw himself as a warrior. If anything, he was the farthest thing from it. He was the least in his family, part of the weakest clan in Manasseh, and he had learned to survive by hiding rather than fighting. The Midianites, ruthless and overpowering, had turned Israel into a nation of cowards. They plundered crops, destroyed livelihoods, and left behind a people too broken to resist. And Gideon? He had resigned himself to the life of a man who simply endured. But heaven had a different perspective. One ordinary day, while Gideon was secretly threshing wheat in a wine press, hiding from the Midianites, afraid, cautious, careful, a stranger appeared. The stranger was no ordinary man. He was an angel of the Lord, and his first words shattered everything Gideon believed about himself. "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Judges 6:12. Mighty warrior? Gideon must have looked over his shoulder to see if the angel was speaking to someone else. Him? A warrior? That was laughable. He was a man who played it safe, not a fighter. His hands were more familiar with the work of survival than the weight of a sword. But God doesn't see as men see. Gideon's mind raced and doubt came pouring out before he could stop it. "Pardon me, my lord," he said, "but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about? Did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hands of Midian." Judges 6:13. It was the question that had been burning in his heart for years. If God was truly with them, then why were they suffering? Why had their enemies overpowered them? Why did it feel like God had left them to fend for themselves? The angel did not answer his doubts. Instead, he said something even more shocking. "Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you?" Judges 6:14. The weight of those words crushed Gideon's excuses. It wasn't about whether he felt strong. It wasn't about whether he had the background of a warrior. It wasn't about his doubts. It was about the call of God. Heaven had already decided. Gideon was a mighty warrior, even if he didn't believe it yet. But Gideon still wrestled with the idea. He thought surely the angel must be mistaken. "Pardon me, my lord," he said again, "but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." Judges 6:15. It was the language of insecurity, the words of a man who had spent too many years being told he was insignificant. But God's call is never based on human qualifications. He doesn't choose people because of their rank, strength, or status. He chooses based on his purpose, and he qualifies those he calls. The Lord responded with one promise that should have silenced every doubt. "I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive." Judges 6:16.
That was all that mattered. Not Gideon's weakness, not his self-doubt, not his past, not the might of the Midianites. The only thing that mattered was that God was with him. But Gideon wasn't ready to step into his new identity just yet. He needed a sign. He needed to be sure this was really God. He asked the angel to wait while he prepared an offering, and when he brought it, something incredible happened. The angel touched the offering with his staff, and fire consumed it instantly. Then, just as suddenly as he had appeared, the angel vanished. Gideon fell to his knees in awe and fear. He realized that he had been speaking with the angel of the Lord himself. "Alas, sovereign Lord, I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face." Judges 6:22. But God reassured him, "Peace, do not be afraid. You are not going to die." Judges 6:23. It was the first step in Gideon's transformation. That night, God gave him his first assignment. Before he could defeat the Midianites, he had to tear down the altars of Baal in his own household. Gideon obeyed, but he did it at night, out of fear. Even after hearing from God, even after seeing fire consume his offering, fear still had a grip on him. But the key was this: he obeyed anyway. When morning came, the town was in an uproar. They discovered that Baal's altar had been torn down, and they demanded to know who had done it. When Gideon was found out, the people wanted him dead, but his father Joash surprised everyone. Instead of handing Gideon over, he challenged the people. If Baal is really a god, he can defend himself when someone breaks down his altar. Judges 6:31. From that moment, Gideon's reputation changed. He was no longer just a man hiding in a winepress. He became known as the one who defied Baal. And then, something even greater happened.
Then the Spirit of the Lord came on Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, summoning the Abiezrites to follow him. Judges 6:34.
The same man who had once been afraid to act now called an army to himself. People followed him. The transformation was beginning. But deep down, Gideon still wrestled with fear. So he asked for another sign. He laid out a fleece and asked God to make it wet with dew while keeping the ground around it dry. When God did it, he asked again, this time for the fleece to be dry while the ground was wet. And God, in his patience, granted both requests. Finally, Gideon was ready. But God had one more test. The army that had gathered around Gideon was too big. If they won with such numbers, they would take credit for the victory. So God told Gideon to send home anyone who was afraid. 22,000 men left. Then God said, still too many. Through another test, God reduced the army to just 300 men. That was it. Against the vast Midianite army, God left Gideon with only 300 warriors, and that was all he needed. That night, God told Gideon to go down to the enemy camp and listen. When he did, he overheard a Midianite soldier telling a dream about a barley loaf tumbling into their camp and destroying a tent. Another soldier interpreted it. This can be nothing other than the sword of Gideon. God has given the Midianites and the whole camp into his hands. Judges 7:14. Hearing this, Gideon worshipped. He returned to his men and gave them a strange battle plan. No swords, no shields, just trumpets, jars, and torches. They surrounded the Midianite camp, broke their jars, blew their trumpets, and shouted, "For the Lord and for Gideon!" Panic filled the enemy camp. In their confusion, the Midianites turned on each other. They fled, and Israel won the battle without even lifting a sword. Gideon had stepped into his true identity. He was, indeed, the mighty warrior God had called him to be. And so are you. God does not see you as you see yourself. You may see fear, doubt, and inadequacy. God sees a mighty warrior. He sees his purpose over your life, even when you don't. He calls you not by your past or your weaknesses, but by what he has created you to be. If God is calling you, don't wait to feel ready. Gideon was afraid, but he obeyed anyway. The same spirit that turned a fearful man into a leader is the same spirit that is with you today. You are more than you think. You are called, you are chosen, you are a mighty warrior, and the Lord is with you. If you have felt stirred by this story, if the journey of Gideon has ignited a spark of courage and faith within your heart, then share it with others. Let the message of transformation and divine purpose spread like wildfire. Let us know in the comment section how this resonates to your life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Rima for Purpose, as this will encourage us to make more videos like this. Join a community of believers who are embracing the truth that God sees a mighty warrior within each one of us. Your support not only spreads hope, but also builds a fellowship of faith that stands united in the love and power of our Lord.